My name is Anindita Chakraborty Giri, and today I am going to deliver a lecture on the topic business communication, which is in the syllabus of BBA SEM2 students, BBA honors student, as their ability enhancements course subject. What is communication? Communication is the exchange of ideas, facts, opinions, understandings between two or more persons. It is the lifeblood of the business and the industries. It is sometimes called the nervous system of the enterprise. The effective communication can really give success to the business enterprises. Now, some features of or characteristics or natures of communications are: the first one will be two-way process. Two-way process, communication is a two-way process because it deals with two persons. The first one is the sender and the second one is the receiver. The next one, it is a cooperative process. The cooperation of both the parties, that the sender and the receiver, should be there for the effective communication. The third one is the pervasive function. What is pervasive? Pervasive relates to all the departments, all the stages of the management. That is the top level management, that is the middle level management and the low level management. So communication requires in all levels of management. Next one, it is a continuous process. Now, communication is an ongoing process. It is an ongoing concern because it runs continuously without stop. Next is it flows in all direction. It flows in all direction means communication is everywhere. In the upward direction. Now, what is upward direction? Upward direction is from superior, is from subordinate to superior. What is downward communication? It also flows in downward communication. The downward is what? From superior to subordinate. It is there in the lateral or the horizontal position, and it is there on the diagonal. Now I will discuss about the elements in the process of communication. So there are many elements in the process of communication which makes the communication process effective. So the first communication process is the sender. Sender is the source or the initiator or the communicator who first start the communication process. Without sender, a communication process cannot start. Second one is the encoding. This is the preparation of the subject matter of the communication in a suitable language by the sender. Message. The third point is message. So message is the main subject matter which is to be transmitted, which is to be transferred from one person to another person. The fourth one is the medium. Medium is also called as a channel. Medium is a path from which the message transfers from one person to the another person. It serves as a link between the sender and the receiver. Next point is decoding. Decoding refers to the conversion of the message of the communication by the receiver in a meaningful term. Last element in the process of communication is the receiver. Receiver is the last person for whom from the first process is going on. So receiver is the last person. The receiver is known as the communicatee who lastly gets the messages. Then comes feedback. Feedbacks is the actual response of the receiver through which the sender can understand that the receiver actually gets the message, understands the message or not. Now, on a brief note, I would like to discuss regarding the types of communication. So the first type is on the basis of relationships. On the basis of relationship, there are two types of communication. The first type is formal communication, and the second one is informal communication. So formal communication is the transmission of information in a formally well organized structure. Formal communication follows the scalar chain of command. Next point is informal communication. Informal communication refers to the communication which takes place on the basis of informal relations among people in the organizations. It arises due to the personal needs of the members of an organization. It does not follow any officially established chain of command. Now comes on the basis of the flow of direction or flow of information. The first one is downward communication. Downward communication is the communication which flows from the superior to the subordinate. It may be as principal ordered something to our students, to our college students. It's known as the downward communication. When principals gives orders or notices regarding anything to the students or the heads of the departments is known as the downward communication. Now it comes the upward communication. Now what is upward communication? Upward is just the opposite of the downward communication. Upward communication is the flow of information from the bottom level to the top level, that is from the subordinate to the superior. It may be any type of grievances, it may be any type of prayers, it may be anything, etc. Now it comes the lateral or horizontal communication. What is lateral or horizontal communication? It is the flow of information that takes place among the persons who are in the same rank in the different departments or in the same departments. And the next one is the diagonal communication. Diagonal communication is what? Diagonal communication takes place where the information flows among the person who are in the different rank in the different departments. So that comes the 4 types of communication under the flow of information. Now communication on the basis of expression. Now expression can be written communication. Now what is written communication? As the name suggests, written communication. Written is something which is not in spoken words. The communication which is done by written words, that is written communication. Then comes verbal communication. Verbal is another name of oral communication. Oral communication is just communication by spoken words, like what I am doing now. I am doing communication with all my students and all my colleagues and all other who are sitting behind the camera in a spoken language. So this is an oral communication. And now comes the gestural communication. Gestural communication is non-verbal. Oral can be said as verbal and gestural can be said as non-verbal. So what is gestural communication? Gestural communication is something which is done by our body parts, which can be shown by the action of our body language. That is winking of an eyes, movement of hands, movement of finger, movement of eyes, nodding of heads, etc. Now, lastly, on the basis of organizational structures, there are 2 types of communication. One is internal communication, one is external communication. Internal communication is what? Internal means inside. So inside the organization, if we communicate with our colleagues, with our employees, with our boss, that is called as internal communication. And what is external communication? If we communicate outside the organization, means with the customers, means with the suppliers, the distributors, the agents, etc. It's known as external communication. Now there are some barriers which becomes obstacles to effective communication. So what is barriers? Any type of hurdle, blockade, stoppage in the way of effective communication is called barriers to communication. So there are many barriers which we will discuss now. So the first barrier is the language barrier. The language used for communicating a message may be an obstacle to effective communication. Next one is a physical barrier. The physical distance between the sender and the receiver of any message may also be an obstacle to effective communication. Due to disturbance on the telephone, sometimes relevant information may be left out. Next is the semantic barrier. Semantic barrier is a symbolic barrier which comes from the symbols. Semantic barriers arise from the limitations of the symbolic system itself. Symbols usually have a variety of meanings. The same symbol may carry different meanings to different people. Now comes the status barrier. Now the difference in the status of the sender and receiver may also be an obstacle to effective communication. A superior may give only selected information to his subordinates so as to maintain status difference. Now, wrong choice of medium. This is the most important thing which I am going to discuss. Wrong choice of medium is what? Each communication must be transmitted through an appropriate medium. Now, I am discussing this in an appropriate medium so that you can all get this thing. So, the medium should be positive. The medium should be good. An unsuitable medium is one of the biggest barriers to communication. A properly chosen medium can add to the effectiveness of communication. Then comes organizational barriers. Traditional organizational structures which are totally based on authority relationship restricts free and frequent communication. An organizational structure having multiplicity of organizational levels in its hierarchy often becomes an obstacle to effective communication. Now there are some other barriers which I am going to discuss now. This is apart from the above mentioned all barriers. There are many others which arises due to distance, shortage of time, communication overload, lack of mutual trust, premature evaluation, pressure of work, etc. So this is all about business communication, and I ends the chapter over here. Finally and lastly, I want to add something. We, the teachers of Barrackpore, Rastraguru, Surendranath College, giving online classes to our students from our home due to COVID-19. So we want our students to study at home, stay at home and stay safe.